You're watching Irie Fire Studios Burning Sessions. We're Stell and Snuggs. Her name is Christelle. This is my wife, Christelle Aston. And yeah, Stell is short for Christelle. I don't know if you got that. It's quick though, you guys get that. Yeah, and I have a nickname, which is Daddy Snuggs. So I'm originally from southern New Jersey. I was born in Atlantic City, and I was raised on a river that's not far from there. And Christelle here, she was born just outside of Philadelphia and was raised there. That's where our families kind of still are, but we don't really have too much of a home base. I mean, for the past 4 years, we have just been on tour. We just haven't really stopped. Our home is floating right now.
We hope.
Yeah, I hope. I better be floating.
Gosh, okay, so for me, one of the most inspirational things that affected me musically was I was very young and I went to the Philadelphia Orchestra to see a piece, and I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and the instrument picked me, so I kept watching the flute player, first chair flute player, and there was a Japanese piccolo player in the Philadelphia Orchestra at the time, so I just was enthralled with this particular instrument, and I wanted to know more about it and how do you play it, and I just couldn't stop staring at the players in the pit. How about you, Jared?
Definitely the first time that I heard Thelonious Monk. I was like jamming. I was not even playing piano with other people. I was learning classical piano, and there were some guitars around the house. I used to think that I was going to rock out and do that business. And a kid that somebody introduced me to that played bass, he gave me a cassette of Thelonious Monk. Crisscross was the album, and it's like Thelonious Monk playing solo piano. And I just was, the sound and the structures, and I was just kind of really blew my mind. I was just like, what is that? I need to learn how to do that.
Started playing flute at age 5, classically trained. Went on to piano for a little while at age 10, 11. Then went to conservatory for university, college time. Met him, and always played music. Always involved playing music.
Yeah, I started messing around with a keyboard that was around my parents' house when I was maybe 8, I think. Oh wait, no, when I was 6. Yeah, when I was 6, and my first grade, and they were like, oh, if you want to play an instrument. And my first instrument was actually the flute, believe it or not. It's the first instrument I played for about a year. And then I started messing around with this electric keyboard that my parents had, and just kind of continued to just fart around with it for a while. And then at some point, my mother decided she wanted to learn how to play piano. She convinced my dad to buy a piano for her. And that's when I started taking lessons when I was about 13. So I started taking lessons with a woman that was a music director at a church that I frequented. She was classically trained, organist and choir director, pianist type. Very talented and super amazing musician. And that was it. That was my, that's how they got me. So we've gone off, as far as being full-time musicians, we've gone in and out of it. I would say I've definitely fallen prey to taking other types of work and doing it just because, we have 2 children, so we have to feed them. So that's a reality that sometimes has to happen. But this run, we've been doing this for 4 years on the boat, and that's really all that we've been doing. We've had other times where one or both of us were all doing all music all the time, whether it be lessons or production or whatever it is. But we've also gone in and out. Christelle's actually a very passionate teacher of children, so she's trained to teach Montessori. She's worked in Montessori schools, which is, I think, a very grand thing. I've done a lot of work with kids in schools and things too, teaching music and things like that. So there's more than one way to do things. You know what I mean? And you got to follow what's passionate and be realistic about what's for you.
Yes. Who influences us as far as the music we play?
Oh, as far as our sound, we started our sound the first repertoire that we did together, that made this thing happen was choro music from Brazil. And we were trying to find a music that had the elements of jazz that would satisfy me and the more classical elements that would satisfy Stell. And that music has that. It's like the harmonic structures are really in a jazz sensibility. Of course, the rhythmic thing is Brazilian, which is beautiful, but it's very melodic and it's really constructed. So that really kind of made that. So music by Ernesto Nazareth and Jacob de Bandolim, these sort of like classic choro composers, really had a real influence on what we do, for sure.
We toured most of the Caribbean chain.
Basically, so far it's been between Puerto Rico and Grenada, really. And then, Bermuda is a stop for us when we leave the States. And then on the way back up, we booked our first gig at sea, actually, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
We were in the middle of the Gulf Stream, and we have this little satellite communicator. And somebody got in touch with us, and we booked a gig in North Carolina for this project. So,
which conveniently, that's where we were planning on coming into. We were coming into port and checking back into the States in North Carolina. So it was perfect. So we're like, oh, we got a show. So So in the summertime we tour in the States, and the wintertime we tour down here.
This is what, our third year? Third year that we've been to Antigua. Yeah, I mean, when we're here, so far anyway, our first gig here was actually at Harmony Hall over in Nonsuch Bay on the east side. And of course, like everything that we reference to where a gig is usually close to water. We try and book ourselves close to water since we don't have a car. So we find venues that are close to the water that we can pack our stuff in our little dinghy and get there.
Also, the Antigua Classic Yacht Regatta, we performed for that event.
Great event.
The charter show that's happening now. We've played at the Lime Lounge.
We've played there used to be Roxy's, Galleon Beach. I mean, yeah, but Falmouth Harbor is kind of like when we get here, that's where we spend a lot of time because we're usually here while there's an event going on there. A lot of the performing that we do actually is like associated with sailing or the maritime business in some way, and that's really just out of convenience for us. Yes. I mean, we do festivals and all kinds of other things too, but that's just kind of like the first. We're around that all the time because we are sailing, so we meet people that have venues or we have an event, and it just sort of happens that way.